Imagine a place of perfect harmony, a world untouched by sorrow, a realm of pure, unadulterated joy. This was the Garden of Eden, a sanctuary of unparalleled beauty and tranquility. Rivers flowed with crystal water, sparkling under the sun, nourishing every plant and sustaining all life. Trees bore every kind of delicious fruit, their branches heavy with nature's bounty, a feast for the senses. Animals lived side by side without fear or violence, a testament to the perfect balance of creation. The lion lay down with the lamb and the birds sang in harmonious chorus. There was no sickness, pain, or death, only vibrant health and unending life. Adam and Eve, the first humans, walked in this paradise hand in hand, their hearts filled with wonder. Innocent and in direct communion with their Creator, they experienced a connection that transcended understanding. Life was simple, beautiful, untouched by sorrow, a perpetual spring of joy and discovery. The air hummed with life and tranquility, carrying the sweet scent of blossoms and the gentle murmur of the breeze. Sunlight painted the ground with shifting gold, dappling the lush foliage and creating an ever-changing tapestry of light and shadow. Flowers bloomed in vibrant color, their fragrance gentle and constant, a symphony of scents that filled the air. Every evening, a cool breeze whispered through the trees, carrying the songs of the evening birds and the promise of peaceful rest. Adam and Eve knew no hardship, no struggle, no pain. Spending their days exploring and enjoying God's presence, they reveled in the beauty and abundance that surrounded them. They were content, complete, lacking nothing in this perfect paradise. In this idyllic setting there was only one restriction, a single boundary set by their loving Creator, a single command from God, a test of their free will. Among all the trees laden with fruit and offering sustenance, one was set apart, distinct and forbidden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, standing in the heart of the garden. God warned, "You may eat from every tree, enjoying the abundance and variety of the garden, but not from this one, for in the day you eat of it, you will surely die." This rule was the only shadow in a luminous world, a single note of caution in a symphony of joy, a test of trust and obedience, a chance to prove their love and loyalty. It was not a burden, but a sign of their relationship with the divine, a recognition of God's authority and their dependence on Him. They had everything they needed, every desire fulfilled, every need met. The garden was theirs to enjoy, a gift of unimaginable value. The prohibition was a small thing in a universe of freedom, a tiny constraint in an endless expanse of possibilities. Yet this single point would soon become the fulcrum, the turning point, upon which humanity's fate would turn, leading them down a path of either eternal bliss or unimaginable sorrow. A storm was gathering, unseen, a shadow lurking just beyond the horizon. Just beyond the edge of perfect peace, a challenge awaited, a test that would determine the course of human history. Then, something changed. Into this world of peace, a new voice emerged, the serpent. Described as more crafty than any other creature, it slithered quietly into Eden's story. Its presence marked a shift, a shadow creeping over the garden's brightness. The serpent was not just an animal, but a vessel for a deeper, insidious intelligence. Its motives were not hunger, but a desire to disrupt the connection between humanity and the divine. It observed Eve alone near the forbidden tree and saw an opportunity. The stage was set for a confrontation. The serpent approached Eve not with aggression but with guile, its words smooth, its tone friendly. It whispered, aiming to intrigue and draw Eve into a conversation she should never have entertained. The serpent represented the first intrusion of doubt, a challenge to God's word. The tranquility of Eden was about to be shattered. This was a calculated move in a cosmic conflict. The air grew still, as if the garden itself held its breath. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. The serpent, subtle and cunning, began its approach. It initiated the conversation with a question. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? The serpent's words hung in the air, carefully crafted to introduce doubt. It twisted God's command, subtly altering the divine decree, making a single restriction, a specific boundary, sound like a sweeping prohibition, an all-encompassing ban. The question was designed to make Eve pause and reflect, to focus intently on what she couldn't have, rather than appreciating the abundance around her. The serpent planted with calculated precision the first seed of doubt. Was God truly good and benevolent? Was he holding something back, keeping a secret from her? Eve replied, "We may eat fruit from the trees, all the trees around us, but not from the tree in the middle of the garden or even touch it, or we will surely die." Her answer was mostly accurate, reflecting the original command, but she added, "or touch it," an embellishment, a subtle shift in the divine instruction. The serpent listened intently, its goal nearly achieved. Eve was now fully engaged in the conversation, openly discussing God's command with an outsider, a tempter in disguise. Entertaining the serpent's question, giving it credence, was a step away from perfect trust in God's word and wisdom. The seed of doubt, once planted, began to take root deep within her heart and mind. The serpent knew, with wicked certainty, that if Eve questioned God's goodness and his motives, disobedience and rebellion would soon inevitably follow. The conversation, seemingly harmless at first, had begun, and the tempter was skillfully reeling her in, closer to the edge. The first crack in trust, the foundation of their relationship with God, had appeared. The path to rebellion, once hidden, was now slowly opening before her. With doubt planted, the serpent pressed further. It contradicted God directly. "You will not certainly die." The serpent suggested God was withholding something powerful, knowledge that would elevate humanity. The fruit now seemed more intriguing, a mystery, a power she did not possess. Eve looked at the tree. The fruit was good for food, pleasing to the eye, and desirable for gaining wisdom. The serpent's words reframed her perception. The forbidden became a gateway to enlightenment. The allure of knowing good and evil promised autonomy, a godlike understanding. Eve weighed the serpent's promise against God's command, a battle of trust versus suspicion. The serpent appealed to her senses, intellect, and ambition. The fruit, once just another part of the garden, now held irresistible magnetism. The knowledge of good and evil sounded like a prize, not a peril. The serpent's lie was working, chipping away at her resolve. The forbidden seemed not only attractive but necessary for her full development. The moment of decision was near. The trap was nearly sprung. The serpent, subtle and cunning, delivered its most enticing promise, a whisper that echoed through the garden, promising forbidden knowledge. "Your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." This was the core of the deception, the seed of doubt planted in fertile ground. To be like God, this was the ultimate lure, the promise of transcending human limitations. It appealed to the deepest human desire for power, the ability to shape one's own destiny, wisdom, the understanding of the universe and its secrets, and self-exaltation, the elevation of oneself to a position of supreme importance. The serpent subtly suggested God was withholding something wonderful, a treasure trove of knowledge and experience. For Eve, the idea of becoming like God, possessing such profound understanding, must have sounded incredibly appealing, a chance to break free from perceived limitations. The serpent offered a shortcut to a higher state, bypassing the need for trust and obedience, promising instant enlightenment. But knowing good and evil, in its full and terrible reality, meant experiencing evil firsthand, not just intellectually understanding it from a safe distance. The serpent presented this as advancement, a step forward on the path to enlightenment, but in reality, it was a catastrophic fall from grace, a descent into darkness. The promise was a half-truth, a carefully constructed illusion wrapped in a devastating lie, a beautiful package concealing a deadly poison. The serpent, with its cunning and deceptive nature, questioned God's goodness, casting doubt on his motives and intentions, denied his truthfulness, twisting his words and undermining his authority, and offered a counterfeit path to godliness, a false imitation of true divinity. The promise to be like God was the hook, baited with the allure of forbidden knowledge that would lead to the tragic choice. The allure of divine status, the promise of ultimate power and understanding, coupled with the insidious seed of doubt, proved too strong to resist. The trap, meticulously crafted and perfectly concealed, was now fully set, ready to spring. Eve stood at the edge of a decision, a precipice overlooking a future that would be irrevocably changed. The oldest temptation, the desire to be more than human, was about to claim its first victims, ushering in an era of loss and separation. The moment arrived. Eve, swayed by the serpent's words, reached out, took the fruit, and ate. A single bite, yet a boundary was crossed, innocence fractured. She gave some to Adam, who ate as well. Adam's choice was deliberate, a conscious act of joining Eve in her transgression. Together they turned away from the path of life. Eating the fruit was more than consuming food. It was rebellion, a declaration of independence from God. They sought knowledge apart from God, wisdom on their own terms. The serpent's promise was fulfilled, but in a twisted way. They gained knowledge, but it brought shame, fear, and separation. That bite changed everything. Sin entered the human story. The harmony of Eden was shattered. Humanity's relationship with God was broken. The consequences were immediate and far-reaching. The world would now know suffering, conflict, and death. A single act of disobedience unleashed darkness upon the world. The fall was complete, paradise was lost. The story of humanity had changed forever. The immediate result was not enlightenment, but a harsh awakening. Their eyes were opened, but what they saw was their own nakedness. Shame flooded their hearts. Innocence was lost. They sewed fig leaves together, trying to cover themselves. A human solution, inadequate and temporary. Then they heard God walking in the garden. Fear gripped them. They hid among the trees. The presence of God, once a source of joy, was now a source of terror. Sin had created a chasm between humanity and their Creator. God called, "Where are you?" A question of relationship, not location. Adam replied, "I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." Blame followed. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the serpent. No one took full responsibility. The fall broke not only their relationship with God but also with each other. Innocence was gone. Discord had entered the world. The consequences of their choice were now painfully clear. Eden was more than a paradise. It was the first battlefield in a cosmic war. The serpent was an agent of a spiritual enemy, intent on marring God's creation. By targeting Adam and Eve, the enemy sought to introduce sin and death. The lie, "You will not surely die, you will be like God," was a direct assault on God's character. This spiritual warfare is subtle, fought in thoughts, desires, and choices. The choice was about allegiance, trust the Creator, or seek autonomy. Their disobedience was a victory for darkness, showing the vulnerability of free will. The garden witnessed the first casualties in this spiritual war. The battle did not end in Eden, it continues today. Our daily struggles are echoes of this ancient conflict. The events in Eden are not just ancient history, they echo through every human life. The oldest lie, that we can be like gods defining our own truth, still whispers today. Its effects are seen in conflict, suffering, and the human tendency toward selfishness. The story explains the origin of sin and why the world is not as it should be. We experience separation from God, from each other, and from ourselves. We struggle with temptation and face choices between good and evil every day. The knowledge of good and evil means we are aware of morality yet often fall short. Shame and fear still haunt humanity. Yet Genesis 3 is not just tragedy, it sets the stage for redemption. It highlights our need for restoration and a renewed relationship with the divine. The spiritual battle continues, but the story points toward hope. Understanding Eden helps us make sense of our spiritual hunger and quest for meaning. The echoes of Eden call us to reflect on our own choices every single day. Thank you for watching. If this story opened your eyes to something new, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to Kingdom Keys Seekers for more Bible stories told with heart and truth.